Because Pharma said so.
That's again a very long question. So let me recap. So your first part of the question was about how can we use technology to overcome that communication deficit between departments, but also between global and local.
Yes.
And yes, obviously, so what when we look at the classical way of doing things, and a lot of companies doing it this way, is we are creating. Let's take brand planning for now. We create a brand plan in a PowerPoint template. So someone came up with a template, maybe a consulting agency, you paid for it, or your own commercial excellence department created a template, so you have a PowerPoint template. So what is happening? Let's say a global brand team consists of 6-7 people, right? So there's medical, there's marketing, there's access, there is supply chain maybe, there is regulatory, there's clinical, there's plenty of other people, players. So what happens is we send now this template to those 7 people, and all of them working on their parts of the brand plan. So we already have 7 versions of that brand plan in the setup, in the get-go. Now marketing starts building something and saves that version for reference, right? So we close the work on Friday afternoon or Friday evening, save that PowerPoint. Next week, Monday, I come back, I create the next step, I add another thing to it, I save the second version, and so on and so forth. It's not long until you have 27 different versions of the same file. So now the question is, who is now sitting and aggregating everything together? How do we make sure that the last version of all of these siloed work streams are coming together and compiling one brand plan? This happens, it's not impossible, but it takes ages for the teams just fiddling around with the slides and making them. Also then, depending on who's the audience, maybe we need to present to a senior management team, maybe we want to present to the sales force because we need to tell them what the story is behind our strategy. So we have different things, different versions of the same thing, and it becomes a communication nightmare to do that. And the same thing is happening then with the countries. So once that brand plan is done, you send it out to the countries as the reference plan, but then the local adaptation's happening as well. So you have plenty of brand plans going around, and it's a huge knowledge base that you create, which are all sitting in the drawer in a PowerPoint slide, which is almost understandable. When I say it already gives me a bad feeling. Why is this happening? Because there's so much knowledge that goes in there, which you should have in a very easy, accessible kind of format, right? And technology helps you with that. So as soon as you are lifting or you're using a technology like a cloud-based brand planning system or a cloud tool for your launch excellence, these tools store the data. You fill the same stuff in, right? But you store the data in a database. And that means everyone in the company could interrogate the data, could aggregate the data, could run reports, can see, learn from each other, right? One country can learn from the other, global can learn what goes on in the country in a real-time kind of situation, which is not possible in PowerPoint, right?
Yeah.
So this is something that is a little bit of a no-brainer for me. So why would we put everything in a PowerPoint slide? And there's another element to it, based on the experience. So what we've seen a lot is brand plans that are 100 pages long, 200 pages long, 300 pages long. And why is this? The reason for that is the brand plan becomes the repository of the brand. So everything that is anyhow connected to the brand, every clinical data, every tactical plan, all the details of campaigns, everything gets dumped into this brand plan. And we try to forget about what is the brand plan purpose, right? It's not like the repository of being everything that has to do with the brand. Actually, it's a presentation that you want to do to ask for budget, or to convince your sales force, or to we want to tell the story of your brand.
Yes.
All this information that you need, they should be there, but they shouldn't be in your slide deck that you present, right? So I imagine, and this happened to me, right? So we had senior brand teams that sending out 400 pages of brand plans, and then, hey, senior manager, good luck with finding what you need, because you need to scroll through 400 pages now, right? I can tell you the story why we started in Avia in the first place. So the sparking moment was, it must have been 2011 even, when I was working in a big US pharma company in commercial excellence, and we revamped the way of doing brand plan. It was a branded generic company, so we said we want to have a very lean brand plan. We want to have 35 slides, right? Cut out all the other things, because nobody has the time to read 100, 200, 400 pages. And once this project was done, it was all successful, it was great, everybody liked it as much, right, as you can like a brand planning template. But then we rolled it out, and I will never forget that moment where my COO was calling me and asking me, Daniel, I'm going to go to Southeast Asia. I need the brand plans from all the top 10 products in those countries, because I need to have this as a reference for my visit there. And I was a bit astonished. I said, okay, how I can do that, no problem, but how do you want to analyze the data? How do we want to digest all these brand plans? Because what happens then is, for 10, 12 countries, I am printing out hundreds of pages. Do you want to put them side by side? How do you want to see a pattern in those strategic decisions? And that was the moment where I said, why are we doing this in PowerPoint? Why don't we have this in a database structure where we can have a little widget telling you exactly what your question was? Why don't we have a data visualization tool on our brand data, on our strategic data? And now bringing the loop back to what I said earlier, all these elements, those 400 slides, are relevant. It's not that this is irrelevant, but it's a difference between, we need to have this stored somewhere in a central position where if you want to dig deep, you can go and find that information, versus a presentation that you want to do with maybe 10 slides just to do the purpose of this presentation. And I think this needs to be separated, right? So we should not use a presentation that is intended to present to someone to tell a story, used as a dump of every little piece of information for a brand. Okay. So first of all, the word that stood out at the first part of your question was large companies, right? So the thing is, this is a misunderstanding, I think, that we see almost every day. So when we talk to smaller, mid-sized companies, most of the times they tell us, oh, we're just too small. We can't really have a system for brand planning. We can't have a cloud-based system for launch excellence. We do this in Excel, or we do this in whatever tool they use. Most of the times I tell them, exactly, you guys need this. The reason why is you need to be way more. So in a small company, the circumstances usually are less forgiving if you are not super effective and efficient.